There's a lot of negativity in life. Add on that we're often our worst critics. So forgiving ourselves is either challenging or it seems impossible to do. Being able to forgive yourself requires empathy, compassion, kindness, and understanding. It also requires you to accept that forgiveness is a choice. Whether you're trying to work through a minor mistake or one that impacts all areas of your life, the steps you need to take in order to forgive yourself will look and feel the same. All of us make mistakes at times. As human beings, by definition, we're not perfect. But the key is to learn and move on from our mistakes. That's how we learn. And one of the steps to learning in general is to forgive yourself. Now, I went to school for a long time, and I was never taught this skill, but I did learn it. So consider today a crash course on 12 ways you can forgive yourself. So let me get right into it. Step 1, and these are in no particular order. Focus on your emotions. Before you can move forward, you need to acknowledge and process your emotions. So what do I mean by that? I want you to give yourself permission to recognize and accept the feelings that have been triggered in you and welcome them. Now, you don't have to like those feelings, but appreciate they do help pivot you into a direction of improving that may not have happened otherwise. So sometimes we need mistakes to make us go into a direction we wouldn't have chosen. Now, a second step, acknowledge the mistake out loud. Now, this doesn't have to be in front of other people. So if you make a mistake and you continue to struggle with letting it go, acknowledge it out loud, even if you're by yourself, what you learned from that mistake. Because when you voice the thoughts in your head and your emotions in your heart, you may free yourself from some of the burden. You also imprint it like a tattoo in your mind, what you learned from your actions and your consequences. So in other words, just thinking it, saying it out loud, you can embrace and actually process that feeling a little bit more. Step 3. Think of each mistake as a learning experience. So by doing this, you can move forward faster and more consistently in the future. Remind yourself that you did your best, that you could with the tools and knowledge you had at that time. That will help you forgive yourself and move forward. Because remember, a lot of times when we make choices and decisions, we don't have all the information at hand. Step 4, give yourself permission to put this process on hold. So let's say you have a hard time putting it out of your mind. I want you to visualize the thoughts and feelings about the mistake going into a container, like a mason jar or a box. Then tell yourself that you're going to put this aside for now, and you will return to it when you can schedule a better time to do it. But do schedule that. Number 5, have a conversation with your inner critic. Journaling can help you understand your inner critic and develop self-compassion. So write out a conversation between you and your inner critic. This can help you identify thought patterns that are sabotaging your ability to forgive yourself. Also, journal a list of the qualities you like about yourself, including your strengths and your skills. Now, sometimes we can't think of any at the moment, anything positive. So think of the people in your life that you respect and the positives that they have shared about you to you. This can help boost your self-confidence when you're feeling down about a mistake you've made. Another step, notice when you are being self-critical. So like I said at the beginning, we tend to be our own worst critics. So the next time that harsh voice comes in, write it down. You might be surprised what your inner critic actually says to you. Then you can target your response back to yourself. Step number 7, quiet the negative messages of your inner critic. Sometimes it can be difficult to recognize the thoughts that are getting in the way of forgiveness. If you're struggling doing this, get out a sheet of paper. On one side of the paper, I want you to write down what your inner critic says. Now, this can be very critical, and sometimes it's actually even irrational. On the other side of the paper, write a self-compassionate and rational response for each thing that you wrote down on the other side of the paper. Now, sometimes you might struggle coming up with something that's very compassionate or rational, but think of what you would tell someone else if they were having the same critical thoughts to themselves about the same mistakes that you made and that they made. What would you tell that person? Step number 8, get clear about what you want. If the mistake you made hurt another person, you need to determine the best course of action. Do you want to talk to this person and apologize? Is it important to reconcile with them and make amends? It may not be, so that's something to consider as well. Now, if your mistake impacted a desired outcome, be honest of what part you played and strategize what changes you can make to get closer to that desired outcome. If that means being accountable to someone else, like a coach, whether it be, let's say, from an athlete standpoint or a life skills coach, then do it. Here's number 9. This is a tough one. Take your own advice. Often it's easier to tell someone else what to do than to take your own advice. Ask yourself, what would you tell your best friend if they were sharing this mistake they made with you? And then take your own advice. If you're having a difficult time working through this in your head, it can help to role play with your friend. Ask them to take on your mistake. They will tell you what happened and how they are struggling to forgive themselves. You get to be the advice giver and practice telling your friend how to move on. So in essence, not only are we going to be our worst critic, we're actually coaching ourselves how to be our best friend. Number 10, quit playing that tape. It's human nature to spend time and energy replaying our mistakes. While some processing is important, going over what happened again and again and again won't allow you to take the proper steps to forgive yourself. Instead of moving forward, you get stuck dwelling on the past, and then sometimes we keep reprimanding ourselves, but this doesn't allow you to move on. When you catch yourself playing the "I'm a horrible person" tape, stop yourself and focus on one positive action step. This could be even just, instead of replaying the tape, take 3 deep breaths or go for a walk. Interrupting the thought pattern can help you move away from the negative experience and help reduce stress and anxiety. Step number 11, show kindness and compassion. We can do this to other people, but it's learning how to do it with ourselves. If your first response to a negative situation is to criticize yourself, it's time to show yourself some kindness and compassion. The only way to begin the journey to forgiveness is to be kind and compassionate with yourself. Now, this takes time, patience, and a reminder to yourself that you're worthy of forgiveness. And if you have trouble doing any of these steps, my step number 12 is seek professional help. Speaking to a professional, such as myself, can help you learn how to break these unhealthy thought patterns in your life and learn new and healthier ways of coping with mistakes. Overall, forgiveness is important to the healing process since it allows you to let go of any anger, guilt, shame, sadness, or any other feeling that you might be experiencing. So, in order to be able to move on, it's important to identify what you're feeling, give it a voice, and accept these mistakes are inevitable. You'll begin to see how freeing forgiveness can be, because if you're not making mistakes, you're not taking risks. If you're not taking risks, you're not growing, you're stagnating. I hope you've learned something from this video, and if so, please give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment below of what resonated with you. I also have another video I want you to watch. It's called How to Develop Stable Confidence. And if you've not subscribed to the channel, please do so. If you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, please comment below. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, everybody. Take care, and remember to keep your mental game on.